What up guys, it's Steph. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you my SFX makeup collection that I use for Halloween. I don't have a massive collection and I probably have things in my collection that people wouldn't really specify as SFX or that SFX artists wouldn't recommend. I am not a professional by any means. I do this just for fun and I have things that work for me and my skin and in the industry that I do it in, which is drag and with friends. So it's really not a big thing for me to have things that people wouldn't recommend. So I'm just going to show you my collection today and also my storage. And I store it in the bottom drawer there of this 4-drawer tower. Excuse the glare, this is actually in a corner of my room right under the light. So I have makeup on and cosmetic supplies on the top one, makeup in these 2 drawers, beauty supplies in the 3rd one, and then my SFX is in the bottom. So let's get in a little bit closer and I'll show you what I've got going on. So I've just gone ahead and pulled the drawer out to show you guys fully. So this is all my SFX makeup in here. I just store it all in this drawer and I have a container here as well, but for the most part it's all just random. So first thing I have in here are just some paper plates. I can't stand them upright because they're too tall to fit in the organizer, so I just have their paper plates. I use these to mix my acrylic paints on. I use them to mix makeup. I use them to mix my 3rd degree. I use them to pour on latex, things like that. I also keep some makeup wipes and some antibacterial wipes in here as well. These are just, you can see this one's got makeup on it already. These are just simple wipes and I find them really good for cleaning the skin before you apply any makeup. So in the front here I keep my paintbrushes, my spatulas and different tools like that, and I also keep a razor for distressing clothing for any looks, a pair of scissors and a pair of tweezers. So I don't use makeup brushes really for SFX. I use standard paint brushes, just like cheap paint brushes. I do use some makeup brushes, but I don't keep them in here because I clean them immediately and return them to my actual makeup case. So I just have various different brushes that I like to use. Then I just have various different sculpting tools. These are for clays and stuff, but I find they work really, really well with SFX. So I've got the black set and then I've got 2 of these wooden sets. So in the black set I have this one with a pointier edge and then the other end of it is just rounded. And then this one's kind of like a knife and then a smoothing type tool on this end, and then this one's just like a normal handle on the end, and it's got a cap because this one has a needle tip, so I keep the cap on there for protection. And then I'm not going to split these up into their respective sets, but these are just a bunch of different sculpting tools and stuff for clay and like for ceramics and stuff like that, but they work really well, I find, if you just put a little bit of Vaseline on the end. Yeah, they work really great. Then as I said, I just have a pair of scissors, a disposable razor, and also a pair of tweezers. And then I just have these random little tools that I got from, I think, $2 shops. This one's actually like one of those pimple extractor things on this end, but it's got a nice point on this end, which is great for carving out cuts. In this basket here are all my sponges. I mostly just use the triangle sponges, and I do rinse them out. These ones are just a bit dirty because I've been using them recently. I also have one of these coral kind of sponges. I really like these for giving like a skin texture. And I usually have a lot more of these triangle wedge sponges, but obviously I'm getting through them pretty quickly because I also use them for nail art. So yeah. Then we start to get into some more makeup based items here. I have this cheap cream makeup. It's just like a kind of like a white face paint, I guess. I use this if I'm doing like a paler look or I need a white skin tone. I will use this. It's not designed to actually make you white. It kind of, I think it is, but because it's cheap, it's just kind of nasty at it, really, to be honest. That's a relatively thin layer and you can see it kind of cracks. I guess if you had enough time and you let it dry, you could probably use it 2 or 3 coats and get it sort of more opaque. I mix it with my foundation though, or I use it for paling out the skin. Sometimes I'll even use it to intensify the color of a bruise. You can find this at like party supply stores and things like that. It's not difficult. Next up, I keep a cheap pressed powder and a cheap liquid foundation. These are just like a cheap drugstore brand. These are both in the shade Natural Ivory. I have these because when I do Halloween things, I very rarely want to use my natural skin color on my hands and stuff like that, because they're actually, my natural skin color doesn't match my hands. I find the lighter one works, and I can add pigment if I need to get it to color match. So that's what I use these for. And also on the face, sometimes I don't really want them to be the same color. Like I want to have a bit more of a pale or washed out look. So I really like having, these are just a shade lighter than my natural shade, or 2 shades lighter than me in summer. Then I just have some Vaseline, because why not? I need to get some more. I'm running out of this one, but yeah, Vaseline is a lifesaver. I use this instead of baby oil to smooth out edges and stuff, and I also use it just to add a little bit of like a gross shininess to certain looks. Then I just have these 2 cheap lipsticks. You can tell that they're cheap and nasty because I've ruined them. I just have a black one and a red one, which doesn't even want to turn up, but that's okay. So I just have the black and red, and I use those for nail art if it's up already. And then lastly, in the way of proper makeups, I have these 2 wheels here. This one is a Kryolan bruise wheel. This is the 545 wheel. It has Lila, Altor, Braun and Braun Gras, or something like that. They're in German, I don't know. I love this for making bruises. Yeah, I think it's kind of gross, but it's kind of cool. And then I also have this one from Ben Nye. This one is just the creme contour wheel in brown, but it also works for making sort of aged bruises and also aging wounds and things like that as well. So I really like that. Then I have a small pot and a large pot of nose and scar wax. This one is in the shade Fair. This one doesn't have a shade. Oh no, they're both fair. One's NW1, one's NW2. To be honest, I really don't think it matters. They look exactly the same when you open them up. So actually this one's got a slightly pinker tone to it. I obviously did have the smaller container first. I probably, even though they are different shades, I probably will remove all of this from this one and put it on the top of this one, just so it's all in one big container. I love nose and scar wax. I think it's really good for creating clean cuts, like slices in the skin and stuff, and it's also really good to build, and I absolutely love it and highly recommend it. Then I have my own personal stash of 3rd Degree. I love 3rd Degree. It's a 2-part silicone modeling compound system. So you've got part A and part B. I got the part B in the brownie color because when you mix it, it sort of goes to a pale brown. And I thought it would be most versatile given the fact that I will use this on several people with several different colors. And I can just add some loose powder pigment, either some loose powder or some pressed powder, like just some pigment to it just to lighten it a little bit, and it works fine. Besides, when I'm using this, I'm generally not using it to get a skin color. I'm generally using it to create a wound that's going to be filled with blood anyway, so the darkness really doesn't matter. And you can cover it slightly with makeup as well, so it's really not a big deal. But I love 3rd Degree. It's so fun. Then I just have some ProsAid. I just have a 50ml bottle of ProsAid. It's from Scotty's Makeup and Beauty, which is a store here in Australia. It's based in Sydney. I will link it below. That's where I got most of my supplies from. ProsAid is kind of like cross between latex and spirit gum, I find. It doesn't smell like latex, but it looks like latex, but it works the same way as spirit gum does. So you can see it there. It's a liquid. I really like it. I really like ProsAid, and I highly recommend it. Then I also just have some Elmer's glue, because why not? Because it's good for making cuts with cotton balls and toilet paper or tissue and things like that. Plus, like, it's awesome for making fake skin. So you just put it on like so. Then you let it dry and peel it off. Some people will use more than one layer as well, which is perfectly okay. But yeah, I really like using Elmer's glue. It's awesome. Next, I just have 2 bottles of liquid latex. This is my older one because it started to go a bit discolored. This is my newer one. I like latex, but it smells funky, and I've had this one for probably about a year, maybe a little longer than a year, and it's really sort of started to go gross on the inside. I don't know if you can see that there, but yeah, and it smells disgusting, but I love latex. It's awesome. It's fun to use. So yeah, then I just have a roll of toilet paper. I know this is kind of weird to some people, but it's really good for like ripping apart. So like you rip apart the 2-ply, and it's good for just making fake wounds and stuff. These 5 bottles here are all acrylic paints. So I have a skin colour, a bright red, a burgundy, a violet, and a black. These are good for bruising, filling in wounds, correcting colour, adding a dried blood effect under blood, things like that. And besides, acrylic paint is really easy to use, especially on skin. It's non-toxic. It's a water base, so you can blend it out if you need to. And I find these to be much cheaper options than paint pots from like expensive makeup brands, or like the alcohol-based paints. I do want to get some, but for right now, these work for me and I like them. Finally, we are into my bloods. These are all my bloods here. I have some from cheap places, some from not so cheap places. So I will do the cheap ones first. So first I have a blood spray. It was $2.99 at my Dollar King, and it's literally just a spray, a red spray. It's very fresh blood. It washes out, it's non-toxic and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool to use it to get the blood splatter effect rather than using a toothbrush. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and it's just a little bit of fun. Then I have 6 of these mini bottles here. This one's nearly empty, and then I've got 5 backups. So it's just this face and body paint from Dreamweaver, which I got from my local Spotlight, and it's just got like a needle point on the end, and you just squeeze it. You can get a lot, you can get a little. It's nice, it's fun. It's a very rich, fresh coloured blood, which is odd because it doesn't look like that in the bottle, but it's really good for filling wounds and stuff, especially with the needle point. So I have 6 of those, and then I also have the same brand in a bigger bottle, and I just use this as a refill bottle, and I try to keep, on Halloween night, I try to keep 1 or 2 of these smaller ones with me, so you can see the size difference. The small one holds 36 ml, and this one's 135, so this is about 100 ml more than the smaller bottles. So I can get 4 mini bottles out of this. So yeah, I have that. I got all of that from my local Spotlight store. And then I have these. These weren't cheap, but they were from a cheap store, so we'll just chuck them in the middle. These are blood capsules. You put them in your mouth and chew them, and you bleed from the mouth. So they're pretty awesome. And then I have my 3 more expensive bloods. So I have 2 from Ben Nye. This one is a thick blood, which I've had for about a year, and this is a dark blood, which I've had for probably about a month. So the thick blood is just chunky, kind of blood. So we'll just use a spatula so you can see it kind of scrapes up and it's just chunky, really gross filler kind of blood. It's like a paste almost. It's good as like a wound filler or something like that. It has a very red look to it as well, but when it's chunky and you put it over a black paint, you really can't tell. My other Ben Nye blood is my dark blood, and this one is a little bit darker in colour. Again, still has that redness to it, but not anywhere near like these ones. So you can see the colour difference. You can also see the quality difference kind of. This one's a lot thinner in consistency than the Ben Nye one. And then last but definitely not least is my most expensive blood, and it's my prized possession, and it's my Fleet Street Bloodworks Drying Blood in Fresh. Now this one is that rich red colour, but it dries, so it sets, and it's just, oh, the quality of this blood is incredible. I highly, highly recommend Fleet Street. I paid a good $40 for this in Australia, so if you can find it cheaper or you know somewhere else cheaper to get it, please let me know. I have a few other supplies. I have a few other supplies that I like to use in my SFX stuff that I don't keep in here, such as a toothbrush, cotton tips, cotton balls, and things like that. I don't keep them in here just because I use them for other things. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and comment down below what makeup products you would recommend for SFX makeup. If you don't want to miss any of my upcoming tutorials, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of them. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!